Join the Marni On The Move podcast and our Sub 5 series from the U.S. Olympic Marathon Trials, where we will be interviewing brand founders, athletes, and more. Get ready for an action-packed series of conversations. All right, guys, we are here with Matt Taylor from Tracksmith. He is the founder and CEO, and it is their 10-year anniversary. Congrats, Matt.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's exciting to sort of think about it, and other times it's a little bit scary. But we're going to take we'll take some time this year to celebrate and acknowledge that 10 years is a pretty remarkable journey.
It is. I mean, it's a major benchmark for a brand.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
When you started, did you think it would be like this?
Whew, that's a tough question. Lots of things yes, and some things no. Some things take longer than you think. Like, I would have assumed we would have launched footwear earlier than we did, and but also, having retail store presence in London, I wouldn't have thought would have been in those first 10 years. So some things, go a little faster, and some things take a little longer. But in terms of how the brand has been able to sort of grow and stay true to the original ideas and values, and even some of the products that we launched with are still unchanged in the line 10 years later is it makes me proud, and it's just a testament, I think, to the way our team thinks and builds.
What are some of those values and ethos of the brand of Tracksmith?
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of our primary driving forces internally is thinking about how we can support committed runners. I mean, that's what drives everything we do. What's their lifestyle? What's the journey of training and racing? What are some of the products? What are the events? What are the services that they need? And that really is what drives our product creation. It's what drives our events. It's what drives our community. And so that still is the driving force.
When you started, how many products did you have? What
we
was
had 5.
Okay,
yeah,
what were they?
We launched with 5 products. So when we launched, we launched with men's apparel. Women's came about 10 months later, and obviously then footwear much later. So when we launched, we had the Van Cortlandt singlet and shorts. That was our race kit. Literally pretty much unchanged. We make these minor tweaks, but that is still in the line today, one of our best sellers. We had our Gray Boy tee, which is sort of a team issued, anyone that ran on a cross country or track team probably got something like that with your, team mascot on it. We had the Longfellow shorts, which also were still in the line. Those were running shorts that didn't look like running shorts. It was, again, when we launched, we wanted to show kind of the breadth of where we thought the brand could go in the future, and so it was very strategic what products we launched with. And then we had a little spike bag, and that spike bag was made out of shirting fabric from a factory about 30 miles from our tiny office back then, and it was just recycled scraps from their floor. We called it the factory floor spike bag. So
that's so cool. And so, were you a runner? What inspired you to build this incredible brand?
Yeah, I've been a runner my entire life. I played a lot of other sports in high school, and but come college was focused purely on running, and so ran cross country and indoor and outdoor track, and was able to continue going a little bit after college, not at a super high level by any stretch. And I'm 46 and still competing as a master now. So what are your races coming up that you're competing in? So I just ran a mile, indoor mile at BU, and I have another one on Sunday at the New Balance Grand Prix. And then I'll shift from the mile. I'm running the Boston Marathon. So I'm trying to do the 2 ends of the spectrum in a short period of time, and keeping my training varied and exciting, and not get too bored with one specific thing.
And now you're from Boston, and you live on the Cape now?
I live in Boston, but
Okay.
my in-laws and family are on the Cape. So
I feel like when we met at the Boston Marathon last year, we ran together and we're talking about Boston and the Cape.
Yes.
So how many times have you done the Boston Marathon?
I've actually only done it one other time, and I was more of a middle distance runner in college, and so I did run a few marathons in my, I guess it was late 20s, and Boston was one of them. And at the time we lived in Newton, and I got to the top of Heartbreak Hill, and my wife was there with the car, and so I walked off the course, and we got in the car and went and had lunch. I was not having a good day, and I just,
That's awesome.
I wasn't in it to get to the finish line. I was in it to run a specific time, and so when that wasn't going to happen, I was like, well, live to run another day.
Yeah, so what are you looking forward to this year in the marathon, in the Boston Marathon?
It'll be interesting because working marathon weekends for our team is very stressful, and you're on your feet all day. Now at 10 years, I don't have to quite do as much as I did when
but you still
in those first 9 years.
Right?
I probably will. I'll be there quite a bit, but I'm hoping that I can, put my feet up a little bit more than I have in the past. And it's always nice to sleep in your own bed the night before a race. And my goal is to run 2 hours plus my age. So if I can run 2:46, I'll be
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that approach. 2:46.
Yeah.
So has your training been really different than usual for the marathon? Like what? Yeah.
I mean, I've again been sort of the last 2 years I've been relatively injury-free and training for everything from the mile to the marathon. So I will get a little bit more specific now in these last 9 weeks or so after my mile this weekend. And so a few more long runs and just longer intervals, which I've kind of, with young kids in the business, you don't have as much time, which the mile is nice because you can like jog to the track, do something hard for 15, 20 minutes and jog home and you're done, and you're not taking 3 hours on a Sunday. So
your whole family is like,
exactly.
Gotta get on board.
I get out super early. I'm usually, it's funny, I wake up earlier on the weekends rather than sleeping in because I need to get back before everyone's awake. So
that's so funny. And so, I always say, back to business, that sometimes I feel like building a business is like being at mile 20 of the marathon, and you're like at that place where you've done all the work and you only have like a couple more miles to go, but like those are the hardest miles.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that? Like 10 years, like
sure.
are you finished with the marathon at 10 years?
And it can all still come off the rails. You don't know. You still have the 6.2 miles left to go.
Yeah.
No, it does feel like that. I mean, there's obviously like a lot of analogies between starting a business from scratch and running. It's the delayed gratification. It's that you have to just consistently do the right things over a long period of time.
Yeah.
There's no quick fix. There's good days, there's bad days, and you can't expect every workout to feel great, and you can't expect every day or week or quarter in the business to be great. But if you can be good consistently over a long period of time, you can succeed.
Yeah, and I have to ask because I feel like Tracksmith is like all of the apparel is just so like from the fabric to the design to the minimalism to all the thought. Like it's such a detailed. It's almost like a high-end fashion brand for running, in my opinion, as somebody who has a fashion background, right? And also I love running. So were you thinking when you started it, like there was just something missing in the marketplace that you needed to create?
Definitely. There were a few things. Really, I guess there were maybe like 3 core ones. And to start with yours, one was just aesthetic and style at the time. If you looked at the landscape and especially men's apparel, it was not pretty.
Right, it was like giant t-shirts, sweatpants.
Yeah. Every brand was the same color, using the same fabrics. If you took the logos off, you would have no idea whose product was whose. Yeah. And so it was just an opportunity from a style perspective to create something that was more distinct, that was more timeless, that didn't need to be changed every season. Things that looked like your other clothes that you might be wearing. It was sort of like, why do we have to dress like this to go for a run when the rest of my life I dress like this? And so some subtle things that we were able to do there.
There really wasn't anything for men.
No, there was not. But yeah, you had Lululemon and Athleta that were driving a bit of resource allocation into women's apparel at the running brands, but the men's apparel was not getting any of the resources. It was still footwear driven, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then there was also just like a quality component to that. A lot of people don't understand all of the sort of, raw materials and supply chain and all the things that go into apparel in any category, let alone running. But there are objectively better fabrics. There are better raw materials they last longer, they perform better, and all of those things. And so, our model was to be a direct brand. We can cut a little bit out because we're not selling to the big box sporting goods or some, other retail partners. We can invest more of that into higher quality raw materials, create a more durable, lasting product. And then there was just a cultural opportunity as well in running, where I think the bigger brands, which had all been doing very well and gotten bigger and bigger, they were either putting their resources on athletes who were maybe going to make it to the Olympics, try to get on the podium, or sort of a general health and wellness. And in the middle is like millions and millions and millions of committed runners who still identify as runners. They're trying to get better and faster, but they're never going to be an Olympian, but they're also not sort of the health and wellness, like, oh, I should go out for a jog. It's like they're runners, they're real runners.
And Tracksmiths provides a ton of support for these athletes. So talk to me a little bit about that program. Is it it's the athletes
ASP,
ASP
amateur support program.
Amateur support program.
It started in 2020 leading up to the Olympic Marathon Trials in Atlanta, where we had some employees and friends of the brand. Some had qualified, some were chasing the standard. And it was just literally started with the question of, is there anything we can do to better support these athletes on their journey? And it sort of snowballed internally into this basic idea for a program. And we put out applications, and we thought we'd have 30 athletes in the program, and it was hundreds of athletes applied, and it ended up in Atlanta that year. We had 120 some athletes competing at the trials. We had 20% of the field wearing Tracksmith. We then extended the program to track and field, and we're back here at the Olympic Marathon Trials again, where we also have about 20% of the field on Saturday will be wearing Tracksmith. So
it's amazing.
And it's the great thing about the program, the thing we all take a lot of pride in, is that the athletes all have the same response, which is, when you leave college, you lose a little bit of that camaraderie and team atmosphere. And as part of the program, they meet athletes who are also professionals, have jobs, have families, and it feels like a team. And literally athletes will say, oh yeah, I was running and I looked over and I saw the Tracksmith singlet, and we started chatting and we ran together for the next 6 miles. They didn't know each other prior to it, right? And you hear people on the sidelines, they cheer, go Tracksmith, when they see these athletes. No one else is on the sideline saying, go insert whatever brand, right? So there is something sort of special about that group, and we're just honored to be able to support that many athletes.
And you also private label for teams, which is great.
Yes, we do some teams.
That's like when you see teams with, you can tell, even if it doesn't say Tracksmith, it's like, it's just a look and a feel. So what inspired you to launch footwear, and when did that actually start versus when it launched?
Literally it started at when I started thinking of the idea for Tracksmith. It was not set out to necessarily be an apparel brand. I wanted to be a running brand and be able to service all the wants and needs of a committed runner, and footwear obviously is part of that. It just takes more resources, it takes a bit more time. But I would say we started in sort of earnest about 5 years ago. And we had some starts and stops along the way. We originally didn't have the full team internally, so we had to outsource some different components in design and development, and didn't quite get where we wanted to go. COVID came, that sort of set us back a bit in terms of being able to go to the factories and visit. But then eventually we were able to get a core team internally with tons of experience, and I was just super excited when that team really got cranking, and we started to see the first prototypes, and we knew we were going to be able to produce great shoes.
And now you introduced some new colorways that I saw at TRE. So that's exciting. You have the original shoe that you created in multiple colorways. And there's another shoe or other shoes down the road coming.
We have a few different things in development. Again, the goal is to be able to service the needs of a runner, and so they don't need just an everyday training shoe. They're going to need trail shoes, race day shoes, some lifestyle shoes, right? So I think the vision for footwear is obviously much bigger than a single shoe.
And so for 2024, are these things we might see?
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully we will get to something new or two in 2024. But footwear development, you never know. Things can go sideways.
Awesome. Well, Matt, this has been so great. Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast.
Thank you.
And to be continued.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.